murder.
Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give you another very exciting collection reflection video where I take the time out just to go through any game in my catalog, whether it be physical games, limited edition games, could be digital something, could be a console, anything else in between. And today, the game in question will be none other than Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, because with this game having its sequel being, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, coming out within almost like a week and a half, figured now would be probably a good time just kind of give my thoughts and reflection on this game as well as just Final Fantasy VII just overall in general though. So yeah, that will be the game in question for this week's collection reflection video though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. I was waiting for you for the longest before I even knew what was even going on within the Final Fantasy series as a whole. Now, like all things, I got to take y'all down memory lane just to kind of see exactly where I came into, because technically Final Fantasy VII as a whole was like my introduction to, Final Fantasy in general, or, just in general, I would say for the most part though. So literally, I remember seeing this game showcase off in the E3. Oh gosh, this game came out in like 2020, the COVID year. So it was like several years before that. So it was like I remember seeing it, at an E3, and I was like, this game looks kind of cool. I hadn't really ever gotten to any Final Fantasy games in general at this point though, and I was like, it'll be great to actually start off with this one. Just modernized, just really easy to kind of jump up in. So originally I was kind of thinking like that because I hadn't played any Final Fantasy game at that point. I think the only thing I managed to play was like Final Fantasy VI, and that was just a little bit. It wasn't even much more than like I would say maybe 20 minutes at best because I had that on the SNES Classic and whatnot though. But that to say, I was really kind of looking forward to this game. I was just kind of keeping my tabs up on it though, especially since I knew it was going to come out on PlayStation system, whether it be the PS4, the PS4 actually at the time. And I knew I didn't have that system, but I was like, maybe at some point in the future I might get it. And then, fast forward a few years later though, I think Final Fantasy X managed to drop on the Switch. I managed to get through almost half of that game. And then some other stuff happened. I never managed to finish it though. So I never managed to finish any Final Fantasy game. And then lo and behold, they managed to say, hey, 7, 9, 10, and 12 are all coming out to the Switch for Final Fantasy stuff. I already dabbled with 10, and I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and play the original Final Fantasy VII on the Nintendo Switch with all the speed up features and stuff like that. Managed to turn a 45-hour RPG down to like 15 hours. So that was really great right there. So that was like my first introduction to Final Fantasy VII. And then after playing the original one, I was drawn into the universe. I was like, I got to see what 7 Remake is all about though. Obviously, when this game did manage to come out in 2020, it did not have the Intergrade part up in the game. It was just the baseline remake though. But it was for PS4, and I was like, the day when I decide to get a PlayStation system, this is definitely going to be like one of the first few games I'm going to manage to pick up, though. Lo and behold, fast forward, where we got the PS5 that dropped out in that COVID year, and then the next year, 2021, in the summertime, that's when I managed to buy my PS5. And at that point, I think I first got Persona 5 Royal, went through and beat that. But then I think it was later on that holiday, it was roughly around, I think December-ish, around Black Friday. That's when I finally managed to pick this game up, because at this point, then it was Remake with Intergrade. And Intergrade was like a $10 expansion pass. I say expansion pass, $10 upgrade in order to get that little bit that's technically considered as DLC. So I was able to get the full game. Would have been the $70 price tag, but because it was Black Friday, I think I picked this up for like $40 or something like that though. So a lot of bang for my buck right there though. So you know what, I love that. And when I was going through and playing through this game, man, oh man, oh man, the graphics. Obviously, if you compare, Remake to the original vanilla, it's a night and day difference between these two different versions. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh goodness, it was such a nice upgrade to see from the original polygon characters that you got within those original PlayStation days to where we at right now within the PS4/PS5 with this game released though. And I just love all the different characters. I thought all the voice acting and stuff was good between Cloud, which remember Cloud was, for the most part, kind of felt like a silent character within the original games, though. But with this remake, though, it seems like they kind of gave him a little bit more so of a voice within this one. So I greatly appreciate that because the biggest fan in terms of characters being silent protagonists, especially when in nowadays. It's one thing looking back in the past with those games though, but I say from this point forward in the future, I just love the characters that actually have a little bit of a personality, so that way you can kind of resonate with them a little bit more. Like for example, if you looked at Final Fantasy 16 with Clive and stuff, like that was a character I thought I wasn't gonna really like. By the time I was at the end of the game, I was like, this is like one of my favorite characters for like 2023. So you know what? I just love the characterization and stuff that was drawn up in the games and stuff. Just going through and seeing, all the different districts and stuff. And I would say, one of the most climactic moments in Final Fantasy VII Remake was definitely the plates falling, because you had to kind of use your imagination a little bit when you saw that within the original Final Fantasy VII when the plates were falling and stuff. It was like, okay, you kind of imagine like I literally was almost thinking like an actual plate, like like a dish plate falling down, even though I knew it was like basically a whole sector that was within the the district and stuff. But I just imagined that kind of falling down on the area though, and I was like, dang, I was like, it was hard to envision though. But when in this remake, you get to see the whole thing. Like, it's like full blown cutscene and stuff. It was just kind of drawn out. While yes, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade was mostly focusing within everything within this first intro area before you actually managed to kind of bridge out and go beyond this one sector though. A lot of people said it felt a little bit more drawn out, but to my shock and no surprise, I didn't personally feel like it was drawn out, at least not that much. Thus being able to see Midgard fully fleshed out within this one remake, I think that was actually handled quite well. Now, obviously, I would say there may have been a little bit more fluff as you're kind of going through some of those sewers and stuff, and this kind of felt like some enemies might have been damaged, spongy and whatnot, though. I still think what was there within Midgard, I think was really nice. Just being able to fully see the world of it and just kind of be introduced where the original start point was for Final Fantasy VII. Because while, yes, I think Midgard in the original version might have took you maybe at best 5 hours to get out to, get through all of that and then just get out into the open world. I felt like there was a lot of things that were kind of untold within that was showcased off within this remake though. But obviously, I think the biggest thing and the biggest pull between, Remake Intergrade and versus the original Final Fantasy VII is none other than all of the stuff they're talking about with Fates. Because while yes, the game might be called Final Fantasy VII Remake, it is a remake, but at the same time, it isn't a remake because of the fact that, if you were to look at this and stuff, the way how these fates are kind of intertwining and coming up in here, certain events or key moments, they're getting slightly tweaked here and there. Like, for example, Sephiroth. Sephiroth was not there present at all in the original part of Final Fantasy VII. But when in the remake, we managed to get to see him, and he happened to be like one of the last few bosses we managed to fight within Remake Intergrade, which that was not the case in the original one. So you can already kind of tell that some things are kind of, transpiring and being a little bit different. I think, you got like a pretty good clue from like Advent Children, which I still need to sit down and watch that movie though. I think that was like the main divide in between that and going into 7 Remake. There's like a greater story that's being retold when in this 3 parts, like we're about to get Rebirth here just fairly soon though. Between these 3 different parts, it's going to tell a little bit of a different story in comparison to the original Final Fantasy VII game. So if you happen to be someone that's leaning on the fence and stuff and thinking, hey, should I manage to play this or should I play the original? I still think there's, some benefits to playing the original Final Fantasy VII and then jumping in and playing, Final Fantasy VII Remake. And then you kind of need to go out there and play Crisis Core just so you can get familiar because, Zack's going to have a pretty key role in terms of what he's going to be able to do within Rebirth, which we didn't see that many strong parallels or ties it with, at least with the original Final Fantasy VII. So I like the direction that everything that they're doing in Remake and stuff, as well, the Remake series in general though, and I'm just kind of very curious to see exactly how the rest of it is going to play out though. Now obviously that was a lot of stuff with the remake stuff. Obviously when you include the Intergrade stuff, then you had some stuff with Yuffie and stuff, and it was nice just going through that little bit of DLC. It wasn't in terribly deep. It was just like maybe 5 to 7 hours at best though. But being able to play as Yuffie this early in the game, which you weren't able to do But in the original Final Fantasy VII game, you weren't able to play as Yuffie until after you left Midgard. That's another little twist that they did right there, though. I still think it was a lot of nice charm and stuff. Obviously, with the whole game being action-based oriented in general and not just turn-based, that might have put a little bit of people off, though. But I kind of like the stuff you're able to do with action-based. And then when you want to use some of your specials and stuff, then you kind of go up into some sub-menus, pause a little bit, or it's not like an entire pause, but it's like a slow down freeze frame, and then you select certain moves and stuff. I think that's a nice little balance with action based stuff, especially when you're trying to retell this game in a modern day era with some new twists added up in the mix, though. But yeah, oh man, I felt like I went on long enough with Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below. What all did you think about this game in general, though? Did you think it was a great game? Did you think it was just average or okay? Or do you think they're really about to pop the lid off with Rebirth that's supposed to come out within like a week and a half from now, though? And you're just really looking forward to that game, though. I would say for me personally with that game, I really do love the heck out of it. And I'm really looking forward to Rebirth as well. I already got like the collector's edition, or well, not collector's. That's way too expensive. I got the deluxe edition already pre-ordered, though, so I'm ready and hyped over the moon for this game to actually finally drop, though. But let me know in the comment section down below your overall personal thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of today's collection reflection video. So if you really like this, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember, y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.